Hello and welcome to The Huddle. Liam Santamaria back with you, fresh off a head coaching announcement. Mike Kelly, the 2020 Coach of the Year, announced by the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix as their new head coach. He won a championship as a player back in 1996 in Southeast Melbourne. He won a championship as an assistant coach in 2018 with Melbourne United. And now, after further coaching stops in far north Queensland and Western Australia, he's coming back to what they call the Heartland to lead the Phoenix. So sit back, relax, because up next on The Huddle, Mike Kelly. Mike, congratulations, mate. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Liam. Super excited. Happy to be here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, congratulations. Really, really exciting news. We've been waiting to see whom it might be that's going to take the reins of the Phoenix. Really exciting to see that announced earlier today. Tell me about sort of your feelings about taking on the job.
Whew. Yeah, it's it's been a ride, and I'm really excited to be a part of Southeast Melbourne. I think it's been a great club in its short existence, and already done some good things with the potential to just take steps, and I'm excited to be a part of that. Myself as a head coach, as you said before, I've been a head coach and in different circumstances, and there was some ups and downs there, and I'm just really stoked to get another opportunity with an NBL club because there's not too many, and willing to or excited to kind of learn from the things of the past, both good and bad, and help use those things to compete for championships.
You mentioned it there. I referred to it. Coach of the Year in 2020, had the 3 years as the head coach with the Taipans. You obviously since then have felt, I'm a head coach. I want to be a head coach again in this league. I'm going to grow from that previous experience and be even better than I was. Is that fair to say? Have you just had that feeling along the way, like, listen, I want to be a head coach again in this league?
I think yes. Short answer, yes. But basically, I think right situation, that I could do some really good work and help a team to compete for championships. And I feel like this is a situation like that. People that I know in Tommy Greer, Eric Hollingsworth, know and trust, I guess. The table's a little bit set already with some very good players, and the ability to try to round out a really good, competitive, tough-minded roster. So I'm super excited about that. The club has shown a willingness to try to put that together, and so I think this is a great situation, and I think we're fairly aligned, which super important. I think that's another learning from this isn't a job where I'm jumping. I'm in a really good situation at Perth, really great support, great people to work with. But this is exciting for what it is.
Tell us a little bit about the process. Obviously there's some elements of that are confidential to the club and to you about how they go about their business. But any insights you can provide about the process, what took place to land at this point where you're now the new head coach?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's taken a little while, and I think that there's a time element to everything, and free agency is right around the corner. It's also, I guess, shows the care and the diligence that the club did in kind of looking at a number of different people, and I don't even know the number. I don't know the how exhaustive it was. I just know that when Tommy and Eric presented to me to say these are the expectations of the club, and this was a while ago, a couple of weeks ago, I kind of liked the template that they set up and said, do you fit this, or how would you fit this, or how do you see yourself fitting into this? How can you lead our club? And so it set up kind of an dialogue in the interview process after that. So that's kind of how it went. And then you never know, I guess, how you're received until you get a call saying, "Hey, we want to go further," or "Thanks, but no thanks." So glad I got the first call.
That's cool. Now you talk about what they expressed to you about the template and whatnot. It was reported by Mick Randall in News Corp papers last week a little bit about sort of the priorities. The Southeast Melbourne Phoenix even put it out on their own website, and they were talking about looking for someone with head coaching experience, a guy who has a experience in the NBL, and really spoke about the things that jumped off the page to me was the ability to kind of enhance the defense that this team plays, and an ability to keep players accountable. Were they the types of things that you got from Tommy and from Eric and from the Phoenix about, look, this is who we want to be, and what you spoke to about what you can bring?
Yeah, those were definitely some of the highlighted areas. And I think if you you could see that the Phoenix has been a fantastic offensive team, and hopefully we'll be right up there as far as offense goes. But if you compare that with a consistent defense and a toughness and a grittiness, then I think you've got a recipe for competing for championships. And we've seen that through the years. I know we all fall in love with the offense, and I've done that as well at times. And sometimes it's with a talent level in certain teams, you have to hang on to the strengths of the team. So yes, those were some of the highlights, the accountability. And I think it's funny, I think every team, or probably every team except Sydney over the last 2 years, and maybe New Zealand this year, has probably come out of their exit meetings and said, we need more accountability. And I think this is a situation where that was the message. And I've been in situations in the past where it was the same message. And so, again, going back to the learnings of the past from my own experience, and then having relationships with players and building trust, you can build on that to have accountability.
You managed to create a turnaround in that way at Cairns within your tenure there. Your first year there, the team wasn't one of the best defensive teams, and as a result didn't have a heap of success over the course of the regular season. And then in year two, that Coach of the Year season, that season when you were one win away from the grand final series, you were a lead in that year. You had the Defensive Player of the Year, DJ Newble, and you were one of the top teams in terms of defensive rating, and is a big reason why you had a lot of success. What did you talk about the learnings from your previous experiences that you're going to bring? I assume that period of time specifically is what you're kind of talking about?
Well, somewhat. I mean, I probably learned more from the third year when we struggled. We had players injured. We had guys coming in and out. It was like a turnstile going back to the States, or, players dealing with tragedy in their families. It was a really tough time. But yes, the learnings of that second year where we had great success, and I got Coach of the Year, but really we had great players. The staff did a great job of kind of helping to bring. We kind of talked about having a special kind of crazy that year because we had a kind of a group of hooligans in the nicest sense of the word, who came together and played for each other and got on the same page and competed every day. And I think, there was times during the whole Cairns thing where, as I'm learning as a head coach, occasionally say, we've had some injuries and we need to pull back here. And then in a practice, and then you go out to a game and you compete the same way you just didn't compete in practice. And
Right.
so learnings like that, like even if I shorten things up, we're going to compete. And every time you go out, you're going to compete. And I think it's a simple learning, but it's not always easy to translate that onto a court.
Let's talk about the roster a little bit. When you sat down and you talked, I guess through the interview process, you talked to Tommy, you mentioned Eric Hollingsworth there. I imagine Romy Chowdhury, maybe Josh Childress was involved as well. You would have talked about the roster.
Yeah.
and your thoughts on it, and where you would like it to go. What were the types of things you talked about in that conversation?
Yeah, kind of those same topics. The toughness, and I think you already can see some of that in the guys that they've carried over. Guys like Mitch Creek and Alan Williams, Owen Foxwell, Ruben Trongi, those guys. Even bringing Anzac back as a DP, who I don't know well, but they talk about his energy and his ability to lift others. So I think building with those guys and on those kind of building blocks to bring in toughness. You always have to have scoring, so that's an important part of it. But also just guys that play hard, play together, and consistently defend. So those were some of the things. And you talk about length, and I think that goes like you see a guy who can defend. As long as he gets the job done, that's fine. If he has great length, I think it makes it easier to defend. So if we can be super athletic, super talented, can score and defend, that's the best of everything.
That sounds pretty good. I think the Phoenix fans would like the sounds of that
Yeah.
recipe.
It's not locked in yet, but that's kind of the idea. Is have some. And they had a good group this last season, and I think if it wasn't for injuries, they would have been higher on the ladder. And so there was. I think there was parts of it that were correct, and I know Simon Mitchell is a fantastic coach and a really smart basketball guy and a competitor. So it's not reinventing everything, but it's trying to impress upon our guys that this is how we play, and with that consistent grit, determination, and competitiveness that's going to help win basketball games.
You mentioned Simon Mitchell right there. It's funny how things work out over time. You guys were super close colleagues back at Melbourne United. I remember the videos you guys would shoot for the fans post game as the two assistant coaches breaking it down, and you guys worked so closely together during that period of time. And then you go off in different directions out of that kind of Dean Vickerman coaching tree. You go to Far North Queensland, he goes to Southeast Melbourne. And now you're going to take over in the franchise that he's kind of helped establish over the start of its existence. What has impressed you, or what do you like about what he and Tommy and those guys at Southeast Melbourne have built over the first 4 years of the franchise to this point?
Well, basketball wise, I think you look at it and say they've, made the playoffs and had some great talent and been able to assemble great teams. I think overall, like what I've been impressed with is the basketball feel in the community and the stuff I see online. I'm in Perth right now. I'll be in Melbourne soon, but I grew up in my basketball journey here after Griffith, New South Wales. Got to give them a shout out. That's my starting point. But once I finished there, I went to Melbourne and we were there for 9 seasons. So I grew up in Australian basketball in the heartland, and the way that Southeast Melbourne has kind of garnered or gathered that and kind of held onto it and ridden the wave and built that within the community, that's super impressive to me and something I can't wait to be a part of again and get into that whole atmosphere.
Yeah, there's something very cool about a Southeast Melbourne Magic champion, a Defensive Player of the Year, a grand final.
You remember
Grand
that?
final MVP, maybe 1996. I remember I was actually a Melbourne Tigers junior at the time, Mike, so I was cheering against you. But there's something very cool about that. Like there's a lot of people in that corridor of Melbourne, which is so massive in terms of basketball participation and love for the game, whose kids and right now are Phoenix fans. They were Southeast Melbourne Magic fans at the time. They were cheering you on against Drewy and Copes and Breaky and the like. I mean, there's got to be something very cool for you as well, coming back into that world and that experience, full circle almost in your basketball career here in Australia.
For sure. For sure. Every time I've come in as a visitor, um, I still get kind of those chills and see people in the crowd that I've known for 25 years and coming to games and former teammates, and then being able to jump back in and kind of lead that group in that and try to build a team that everybody's going to be like, yeah, that's our team. That's how they play. I hope that from my own playing experience, people will remember that I tried to play hard, try to play good team ball, and that's what I envision this team playing like, except with better scoring ability than me.
Well, you undersell yourself. You mentioned some of the pieces that is already in place. Obviously, free agency popping away right now today as we speak. But what you guys have there, you talk about Alan Williams, Ruben Tarangi, Owen Foxwell, but you've got that franchise piece, that cornerstone piece in Mitch Creek, who was essentially the inaugural signing for the club, has been their leader on the floor throughout the period of time that they've existed. What excites you about working with him, an MVP contender year after year?
Yeah, just and I've really I know Mitch a little bit, just seeing him here and there. I remember running into him at the summer league, NBA summer league, after his Adelaide days, and we had played against him at Melbourne United against Adelaide. So competing against him, and then also competing over the last few years here at Southeast Melbourne, like he competes every day, and I love that, being around that all the time, the energy, and I want to bring guys that will help him, but also push him, so that he's not kind of dragging a group with him as far as competing. It's going to be like he'll look across the floor and see Alan Williams knocking guys over to go get a rebound and then put it back in or kick it up the floor for an easy layup or dunk. That's what I get excited about, is Mitch bringing his energy, but Mitch not having to do it all, and everybody raising to that level.
Nice. Couple of quick questions to finish off, Mike. Style of play. What is the kind of the vision for you for this team? Comparing it, I guess, to what Phoenix fans have been watching over the past couple of seasons under Simon Mitchell.
Yeah, I think Phoenix fans would have been used to like some high octane offense and having shooters and attacking the basket. And I look for that to, we haven't built the roster yet totally, but I want that to continue. And like the team averaged like 91 points a game. I think that's doable in the league with our pace of play as a league. I don't want to slow this thing down at all. But what I do want to do is slow it down going the other way and not give up 90 points a game while scoring 91. And I think that adds a little bit of, that I remember being there, like people appreciated toughness, and that's what we want to bring every day on the defensive end. Slow the ball down, then maybe not stop teams, but we're going to slow them down. You're not going to stop a team from scoring every possession, but having coached Bryce, or at least be around Bryce Cotton, slowing Bryce Cotton down as much as possible. And I don't know that we'll have a Bryce stopper, but hopefully we'll have a Bryce slower downer. And whether it's a person or a scheme, and things like that, like just not letting teams get off the chain on their offensive end, and us slowing teams down, and then securing that and getting the stop. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
What about your time in Perth, Mike? You're leaving that position now, that coaching staff with John Riley, the associate head coach there the last couple of seasons. How have you enjoyed your time in Perth? How do you feel about leaving Western Australia and moving on?
Yeah, it's been great here. Like the club from Hutchie on down has been fantastic. And even when I spoke to Danny Mills and John Riley and Scott Morrison before John about the possibility of still looking at head coaching jobs. Have always been so supportive. The ability for me to go do work with the Boomers, they've been so supportive. So I can't say anything but super positive things about Perth. The people here have been fantastic. My wife, they were in Cairns my first year here because of COVID, and my wife feels like she just got here. So and she kind of did, and we haven't seen a whole lot of things other than the city. So the days I'm here, I think we're going to have some pretty busy days, both with calls to guys for the roster, but also to go see, the Dolphins up at Monkey Mire or whatever. But no, the time here it's been amazing. Perth is beautiful, and yeah, I really appreciate everything they've done for us.
Well, you're leaving a big hole in that coaching staff, but you're filling a big one down south. So congratulations, mate, and all the best. I mean, it's exciting for Southeast Melbourne Phoenix fans. It's exciting for that roster. I'm no doubt it's exciting for you as well, and looking forward to watching you roaming the sidelines again in the Heartland.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it also. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome, man. Cheers.